four wonderful such marketing practitioners. Starting right here, Neha Kulkarni is from Amex, flew all the way from the East Coast. Thank you for that, Neha. And she is Director of Global New Products Development. We have Marston Gould, who's a VP of Marketing at All-Star Directories. I would think most of you have heard of that company. We have Peter Hamilton. Peter is CEO of Has Offers, but a total marketeer. And Elissa Fink is CMO of Tableau Software. And what I thought I would do just to save time, get into this a little bit faster, is have each of them very briefly introduce themselves the first time they start speaking to a question. Time permitting, we'd love to take some questions from the audience. We'll have microphones available to you to do that. If any of you want to be really cool, you can tweet your question using hashtag Lighthouse, L-I-T-E house. Watch the spelling on that. So without wasting much time, we want to get right into some questions. We're going to kick off on social. We all see the incredible opportunity with social. Neha has a wonderful background working on social activities for American Express. Neha, so could you share a little bit with everybody, how has social factored into the marketing mix at Amex for you? What else can you say about some of the return on investment, as Patty pointed out, around that?
Sure. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Neha. I lead a team doing product development at Amex, specifically in our digital partnerships teams. Prior to Amex, I actually worked at Facebook for 4.5 years, where I managed the American Express account. So that's kind of what led me to Amex, understanding sort of their overall objectives, helping them design their sort of social strategy. So that's my background. And then, you know, in terms of social and sort of like what it has opened up from a marketer standpoint, I think social has really changed the way that consumers are sort of finding information and making sort of purchase decisions. So a traditional marketer knows that, you know, the radio, TV, print advertising, even online display advertising has always been sort of this one-way dialogue. And having spent sort of 5 years at Facebook, we were sort of ingrained in our head that it's really, the shift has gone away from that one-way dialogue to this true like two-way dialogue. Consumers have just become a lot more savvy, and they're more accustomed to being part of a dialogue, especially when it comes to making a purchase decision. And so I think that's where social has become a critical part of the puzzle. And so for American Express, it was all about figuring out how to stay relevant in part of that like, sort of discovery. So consumers, you guys all go through this, you kind of turn to your friends, your family, even Patty talked about this, that social graph. You rely on your friends and family to help you make a sort of informed decision based on their experiences, their connections to brands they love. And so Amex kind of saw an opportunity there, and they said, you know, what better way to sort of join that dialogue than to do a very integrated program in a platform like Facebook, expanding into platforms such as Twitter or Foursquare, and really going where the consumer is, and really being like a genuine part of that conversation. So I can give you an example. So with Facebook, 2 years ago, or it was a year ago, Amex launched a program called Link Like Love, which essentially allowed you to link your American Express credit card to Facebook. And then Amex could make relevant recommendations for you for offers and experiences that you could then add to your card. And it became a way to actually take an online experience and literally translate into offline purchase behaviors. And again, it was very genuine to American Express as a brand. But it relied heavily on the social nature of the Facebook platform. Again, drawing from things that you like, your friends like, making recommendations that Amex felt were relevant for you, but again, staying true to the brand itself. So that's kind of, I think, the true opportunity is to just kind of cut through that noise as a brand and figure out how to become part of that.
So would you say that this was, you know, would you characterize this as a very big investment financially, people-wise, or would you, I mean, how would you characterize the investment team-wise financially that was made in this kind of program?
It was actually, honestly, a pretty ground root effort from Amex's perspective. Like the main investment came from a tech perspective. So Amex does invest heavily in sort of technology that powers these sort of consumer-facing marketing program. So, outside of the core tech development, it was really about just building a program that was really relevant, made a lot of sense to the consumer. Obviously, marketing it, but it was, it was a very small group of people who kind of came together who said, what can we do that's different than just running a typical campaign that leverages our core assets as a company, but makes sense and is genuine to the platform in which we built the program.
Okay, so that's really cool. That's an example of, sorry, we always have feedback challenges up here. That's an example of a B2C kind of play. And we know that a lot of the folks in this room care a lot about B2B and B2C, so there's different kinds of companies here. Let's do a switch to Elissa, if you're cool with this. Again, tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and then I'd like you to talk a little bit about, from a B2B angle, I think I'm making a fair assumption that Tableau software cares about business customers.
That's right.
Okay. Are other social networks, LinkedIn or whatever, useful to you? Talk a little bit about that if you could.
Sure. So I'm Elissa Fink. Thank you, Jonathan. It's really great to be here, and what a great panel. I agree. I am the CMO for Tableau. I joined about 5 years ago when we were about 32 people, and now we'll probably be about 740 by the end of the year. My fun fact for you, though, is we're hiring like crazy. So check out our website. Give me your card if you're interested. If you know people, please join us. We're having a great time. It's a fun company, a great culture, and our customers love our product. We love our customers. So it's a great place to work. So. Sorry for the commercial. But yeah, we love social. I mean, the thing about social, some of the other networks other than the traditional sort of consumer-based ones, they've been really useful to us. I think the thing that I love about LinkedIn and particularly Twitter, I think for 3 reasons it's really interesting from a B2B perspective. First of all, for the people that are participating there, it is just a great way to have a conversation with your customers. So you can get a very quick read on what's going on out there. I check it every day. I try to tweet as often as I can because I just like to see what the conversation is like. It kind of helps me bubble up issues and realize some opportunities for some promotional campaigns or just that conversation you have with customers. The beauty of it too is it's fast. It's like literally if you've got some great content or you've got a great customer or you've got some conversation going on, it can just take off and go very quickly. You can run campaigns and you can run activities with your customers conversationally very quickly. We had a campaign around a release. It was our version 6 release, version 6.0. We decided to do a crazy social media campaign around the joy of 6. And we invited our customers to pun around the joy of 6. And people were like saying, the new Tableau, I can do 6 with my boots on, and all kinds of crazy comments. And it was just fun. But of course, that was just a one-time campaign that went up and went down. So the other thing is, of course, the sustaining of your conversations with your customers who are social. You just got to be out there, be persistent, give them worthwhile content. We have a free product we have called Tableau Public that we've launched this thing called Viz of the Day. So we promote other people's content, visualizations and analytics that they've done, and we send it out every day. And it's built a steady following of people who just want to be consuming great content. The one thing I will say is that don't imagine that everyone is social. They're just not. The one thing I do like about LinkedIn in particular is that it tends to attract a slightly less traditional, new age kind of social audience. People have been using LinkedIn for a lot of years, and they've been using it as a contact manager. They stay in touch with each other. People are becoming more social on LinkedIn. They're becoming more involved in the site. But you do see a different kind of audience on LinkedIn. And for a business-to-business software or what technology, LinkedIn can be a really valuable resource to push into people who you might not find through other types of social channels. We do advertising there. We do a lot of activity there. We have a lot of groups. The groups are really big and popular. So I encourage you to explore LinkedIn, and don't forget LinkedIn as part of your social campaign.
Let me follow up on that. This is really cool. So from a practical perspective, you're not a really large organization. You're, if we say, around
about 740 people by year.
So you probably have a marketing team. How many people are on your marketing team?
We actually, for our size company, we actually have a pretty large marketing team right now. I think we're about 45, 48, something like that.
So so that's getting to be more of an enterprise-sized marketing team.
Yeah.
Given that, and so that's a context that I think we all need to understand. But given that, how would you, and this is a little bit of on-the-cuff question, so just answer what's appropriate, but how would you staff say, LinkedIn activities? Do you have a go-to person on your team who's like the LinkedIn expert? How does that work?
That's an interesting question, because we've kind of, and I think it was the right thing to do, but we've kind of swung the pendulum. I mean, when social first became active, we all were doing it, and then we kind of appointed a person and who had a couple of go-to people that became sort of our experts. And we're in a phase right now where it's like, hey, social is a part of everything. If you're doing some kind of marketing project, program, or campaign, and you don't have a social component to it, something's not right. So we try to really make social part of everything. But now as we're growing again, we're realizing, like, gosh, there is a science, there is an expertise to this. So we'll probably be adding someone who will be dedicated to making sure that we're doing it right and leveraging it every way we can, and working, of course, across the team to ensure that their campaigns, their programs, and their efforts incorporate social. But we need that expertise, I think, rather than just sort of like, hey, just doing it. I mean, you know, everybody's heard horror stories about the gurus who are not really gurus, but I genuinely think now this is a practice that people are experts at, and to be able to avail of ourselves of great people for this activity is something I'm definitely looking forward to.
Any other comments on this before we switch to another question? Neha, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. So when I was at Facebook, we'd work we ran the gamut in terms of the kinds of marketers we were working with, and we always found that the most successful companies or businesses were the ones when they were building a social program, it wasn't an afterthought. So to your point, like these things evolve. Like the more experience you get with it, the more you know how to approach like that particular objective. But those that truly kind of kept people at the core of the program when they were thinking about what is our end goal? What is our objective for the program, for the product, what have you? And actually start thinking about the consumer literally from the moment that you're crafting your media strategies, your communication strategies, your creative, your user journeys, everything. Those were the ones that were the most successful. So it is an art. It's an art. It's a science. It takes data. It takes insights. It takes optimizations, iterations, all those fancy buzzwords. But the more you can invest time and resources into figuring out like exactly what the optimal user journey would be from the get-go, I think the more successful you'll be.
Okay, so we have social on the brain. I'm going to move us forward a little bit here. Just social matters. We're going to come back to this. It really matters. But I do want to talk about search, if that's okay. Search apparently still matters, or does it? Could we, Marston, I know this is like something you can definitely talk to, but I want to start with Peter, because Marston, I know you can talk to this. Peter Hamilton, tell us again a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from. How do you use search? How does that factor into your marketing mix? How do you look at ROI? And then I do want Marston to explain a little bit what they do.
Sure. My name is Peter Hamilton. I'm the CEO at Has Offers. I was previously the CMO. And previous to that, I worked for agencies. I had my own consulting business. And way back, I started in SEO and PPC strategies and that sort of thing. So this is certainly sort of in my wheelhouse and certainly near and dear to my heart. I like to rank well on the Googles.
Yes.
But, you know, as working from an agency and from a consulting perspective, I was obviously working for lots of B2C companies where, you know, filling up that funnel with as many people as possible was the absolute goal. And the more you could do that with really relevant people based on what they're searching for, obviously this is magical. Now I found myself in this B2B world where it's very much changed. I don't know if you know much about Has Offers, but we help people track performance marketing, whether that's an in-house affiliate program or managing their distribution partners and that sort of thing. And you know, we are, you know, we're really good at that sort of stuff. But you know, what are you searching on Google to find that sort of software with? And are you going to click on a sponsored ad to sign up for an enterprise software that's going to cost you somewhere between, you know, $800 and $3,000 a month? So, you know, from the very beginning of starting this product, I realized what we have to do is position ourselves as a thought leader. And that means, you know, providing really valuable content. That means being present in everywhere you would expect to look for us to be. And obviously, SEO and PPC are a very big and important part of that strategy. So we need to be present and we need to be a part of it. Whether or not we're getting the click volumes that I used to do with my B2C clients is kind of a different scenario. We rank really well for all of our major terms, and we continue to build content. But we're building content for content's sake. And if you talk to Rand Fishkin over at SEO Moz, he'll talk to you about how this idea of inbound has to be authentic. It has to be a real customer experience where you're providing value to them, content that educates them and teaches them where to go.
Super. So we basically suggested there that a PPC or a search strategy is something that will work variably based on kind of the business model at hand, and that very likely it's integrated into a content strategy that makes sense. These are really excellent points. Marston, certainly you've got a lot of experience around search, and what can you say about, are you continuing to focus primarily on search, or are you?
So my name is Marston.
There you go.
My name is Marston.
Now you're good.
My name is Marston Gould. I like to think that I started on the web probably before a lot of other folks. I started my career as an engineer at NASA and was on NASANet back in the early 1980s when it might have been about 40,000 people sending messages back and forth to each other using Gopher and FTP and all these ancient technologies that no longer exist. And looking around at a bunch of folks drinking wine, my first experience in the real online world was working with the original wine.com as an intern out of business school, watching my CEO 6 weeks after I joined getting hauled off to federal prison for selling liquor across state lines without a license. It was a great idea. He's still, unfortunately, still in jail. Lesson learned. So
That's a fun fact.
Exactly. So I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm currently at All-Star Directories, which is a company that's been around for about a dozen years, and it's a lead gen provider. And it started its core business in search, mostly in SEO, expanded into PPC. And I think, like many other companies, what All-Star got very focused on was the big thing of the day for many years in online marketing was the quantitative nature of online marketing. We can measure everything, right? And SEM in particular became the draw for everyone because I could sit down with the CEO of the company and say, I'm spending this much money and it's providing this much revenue out of that every day. The challenge with that has become, I think, that many marketers forgot that marketing is more than just a bunch of measurements. Measurement's great, but marketing at the end of the day is about telling honest stories, right? And I think when you talk to folks like Rand Fishkin over at SEO Moz or the folks who are working in social, both of those have become about how do I tell my honest story where customers happen to want to find that story. And as a company, All-Star has had to transition away from saying, yes, you can squeeze that turnip. You can look for one more way of moving a customer from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. But at the end of the day, if you're not providing them really valuable stories of why they want to have a relationship with you and really understand that, you're not going to get anywhere. So the nature, I actually love the fact that social has come along and re-emphasized that it is about conversations with your customers, and they have to be honest, truthful conversations. If you just look at them as being, I'm marketing at you, they're going to ignore you very quickly.
So I happened to look at one survey a few weeks ago where marketing professionals in large companies were asked, do you plan to increase or decrease your search investment versus your social investment in the coming year or two? There were answers to that question. I would like the four of you to tell us what you would do. Neha, the marketing mix at Amex, do you see over the next year that Amex will spend more on search, more on search, or more on social? Probably more on social.
Obviously social. No,
obviously social.
No, I mean, I think they go hand in hand. I think if I were to predict the next year, I would say both. I think they're both equally important, and they both play important roles in sort of the funnel, if you will. I think social has a very important part in terms of like driving those ultimate lead gens and searches from an awareness perspective, from a loyalty perspective, from a new consumer acquisition perspective. Again, it's about your friends and them telling you what you should be interested in to then go and sort of start researching and searching on for yourself. So if I were to pick, I would say they're equally important.
Equally important.
But they play hand in hand.
Marston, do you see All-Star Directories or any new venture you may be working on? Do you see a shift in relative spend from one to the other?
I do see a big shift. I do see.
You're off. You got to be green.
I do see a big shift. We have spent traditionally a lot of money on paid search. And actually what we're hinting at here is the last couple of days or so, my company has decided to make a pretty substantial investment in building a new business model based on social. Because we see many lead gen industries, again, seeing that story of influencers and using your social graph to help you make key decisions as being as important, if not more important, in the coming years than paid searches. And certainly SEO works the same way. It's around the content with customers.
For us, it's been kind of interesting. We are more toward an enterprise solution now. When we first launched, we had a $99 version. Get your affiliate program started today, and get 1 month free trial and get in the door and that sort of thing. Obviously, a paid search strategy can be really effective, especially with free trials. But eventually we found that for our stage of business, focusing on the medium to larger clients actually had a much greater return on investment for us. In general, people that were signing up for the $99 version, it wasn't that they mean less to us for any reason. It's that they were less equipped to have a successful marketing program. They either didn't have the team for it or the resources or the budget or that sort of thing. So we were really educating some of those people, but we weren't really seeing a lot of return. We actually took off the $99 version completely, and we still have a middle version. It's like $279, and it goes up from there, and that's basically our launch pad to get you into the enterprise version. But through that, we found that our paid search strategies changed dramatically. We started to study those customers that came in through paid search, and we found that by and large, almost all of them left within a few months. They were not long-term people that were really committed to doing this, to building this program. So for us, I did a really crazy thing a few months ago, and I slashed our PPC budget by about 75%.
Wow.
Don't tell Google. We're still trying to make up, and I'm spending with them in other ways. Don't you worry. But what we have not seen a difference in revenue. In fact, we continue to grow much faster and more exponentially because we're focusing on the right types of customers and being in the right place. Now, what I said before about we need to be present in the places they expect us to be present for major head terms, for trademark stuff, for things that we need to be thought leaders about, and we want to drive people to content. And in that way, we're certainly still spending. But for where we are as a company right now, focusing on this more primary enterprise level, we've cut that back substantially until we feel that we're going to be able to support the type of user that is engaging with a sponsored ad in search.
Elissa, should I be selling my Google stock tomorrow?
No. You know what? I'm a big fan of pay-per-click. I mean, it works. It works great for us. It's very predictable. You can budget to it. We are very analytically driven because you can blow a lot of money on some stupid decisions or even a trivial decision that you can just wake up one day and go, wow, what just happened to my budget? So I'm a big fan, but you do run out of runway. I mean, you don't just keep buying it because there's just more words. There's a point where your market is there to that extent, and that's it for those search terms. So you have to think broader. And I think the bigger theme that we're realizing is content matters. When people are coming to your website, they're pretty much, at least for our site, they're coming there because they want to be smarter. So if our mantra around our content creation, which drives a lot of our search activity, whether it's SEO or pay-per-click or even social, is make me smarter. If we're producing something, a campaign, a piece of content, what have you, that doesn't do that for the person on the other end of it, why are we doing it? If it's not making them smarter, we believe that if we make you smarter, if you're interested, you're engaged in the content, you'll think, wow, Tableau made me smarter. I'm going to be more successful. My company's going to be more successful. I'm going to buy this software. So across those different categories of spend, pay-per-click, search, and social, we definitely think it's definitely a content driver, a little bit like what Neha was saying. We, though, do believe pretty heavily that social continues to be a big driver, the conversational aspect of it. More and more people are engaging. There are new ways to engage. We're continuing to invest there. So yeah, we'll continue our pay-per-click spend, but we're not going to just keep accelerating it at the point where a click becomes the thing and it becomes expensive. We're just not going to do that. We're going to be smart about it. But the reason we're doing it is we have a huge demand generation need. We need to generate a lot of leads because we do feed the sales team. They pretty much don't pick up the phone to make a cold call. It all comes from marketing. So I'm using everything I can use to make sure that I'm delivering the demand that our revenue goal needs to deliver. So I'm not giving up on any of it.
Got it. New topic, because we're here to keep moving forward. Mobile. So, gosh, we all have tablet on the brain right now, and we include tablets in mobile. It is an amazing shift. I'm sure everyone agrees. I don't know if this is more of a B2C, kind of issue. Do we think of mobile, B2C folks here sitting next to me, do we think of mobile as something that is about a way to acquire customers, or is it about engaging them more? How have you guys invested in doing anything mobile, and how important is that going to be in the next 12 months? Marston, why don't we start with you, just to switch things up a bit.
I would definitely say that mobile is becoming more important to our business. 24 months ago, almost all of our customers were transactional. We weren't having conversations with our customers. And it's very difficult when the trends are not our friend in terms of people approaching our sites from a website from their desktop. More and more folks their primary mechanism of getting to the web is through a phone. In fact, that's better. In fact, the group that my company actually targets are folks whose only mechanism for getting to the web is primarily through a phone. So we have found that it's vital for us to be able to be on the device that our customer wants to have in order to have a relationship with us. So mobile is becoming more and more key. We've launched our own responsive design mobile site in the last year. We're putting more and more investment into that. In fact, the new business that we're actually creating and here to launch in February, we're doing mobile first. We're actually doing the website second because we think it's vital and it's important.
Neha, is Amex crazy about mobile or not?
Depends on who you ask. But I mean, Amex is a huge company, and I think historically, it's a very traditional company. But in the last couple of years, I would say there's been a radical shift. In the same way that there's been just a general focus on, new channels to reach consumers. It's also new ways to physically reach them. And so Marston touched upon mobile first. I think the teams that really work sort of in the digital space are really thinking mobile tablet first from a design perspective. It's a totally different experience when you're reaching a consumer through a mobile device than you are on desktop, and that fundamentally changes their experience with your brand. So I think when you create these programs, that's always the filter that we're looking at things through. How do you click easy, one touch, one click experiences from a sort of user journey perspective? And then the second thing I would say is, again, even when you look at, our team works with digital partners, so we work with the Facebook, Twitters, Foursquares of the world, and when you're looking at a new partner, you really have to think about, okay, how do we want to reach our consumers in the place that they are? So if you see trends like Foursquare, for example, Amex saw an opportunity and integrated in platform, in Foursquare, in mobile first. That's the only place that you can experience a program with Amex with Foursquare, obviously, is through a mobile application. So it's not just about figuring out how to be in the channel itself within mobile, but really what are the right experiences and touch points we want to create with our consumers.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
And also, does it like me better than him? A little bit. We've sort of launched into mobile in this past year in terms of tracking performance marketing for our clients, and the really difficult thing is being able to attribute what marketing channels led users to interact, and what is it that they're interacting with. And I think like you said, the idea of what is it we're trying to have them do on the mobile device. The mobile device provides completely new experiences. It provides games that weren't around before. It provides social experiences that weren't around before. So if your company wants to tie into any of that experience of on the go, period, you've got to be a part of it. For Has Offers, it's been interesting because we're as a kind of enterprise B2B kind of a company, how important is a mobile first website for people to come and sign up for your brand? Well, we buckled down and we did it anyway. and we made it easy actually to sign up and to look at content and view our blog and all that sort of thing. Mainly because we needed to show our clients we know what we're doing. We needed to be able to
take him out of his pain. Give him the mic. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah, okay. We needed to be able to show our clients that we know what we're doing and that we can do this too. And then the next step for us is actually translating all of our marketing interfaces to a mobile experience as well. So a marketer can be like on the go. He can pause a campaign. He can search for a new offer he wants to promote, and he can target new traffic actually from his mobile device. So it's certainly something that we want to be really tied into, both from a thought leadership perspective as well as an experience with our clients.
Okay, so we have time, I think, for just one more quick question before we open it up a little bit to folks in the audience. I thought we'd focus a little bit on what Patty talked about, this ROI and metrics. Let's take a couple of seconds and think top 3 metrics for my business that I just really care about. So it could be something on a monthly basis. It could be daily. It could be something completely different. So I'm going to play a little bit of Jeopardy music in my head now. Da, da, da. Okay. So top 3 metrics for your business. We can go down the line when someone is daring and ready. Anybody ready?
Well,
go ahead, Elissa.
I have such an unfair advantage because we make analytical software and we are a data-driven company.
That is good.
And we have an incredible amount of data. And I am in my own Tableau every day, all day. And I'm looking at all kinds of dashboards and all kinds of metrics. The ones I really watch, though, because ultimately I have to be responsible to the results relative to the spend. So I'm often looking at conversion rates, cost per lead, cost per acquisition kinds of measures.
Okay.
I like to see what my team is doing as well, though. They have their own dashboards and metrics, so I'm always looking into campaigns. I'm looking into some of our nurture programs. I'm looking into what our search pay-per-click is doing. I'm looking at what our different campaigns, what their results are. But at the end, I'm really concerned about results relative, results that deliver the revenue relative to what our spend and our resources are. So I would say the conversion rates really matter to me, the lead flow matter to me, and then just sort of the cost per. I'm just keeping an eye on at all times.
Okay.
I guess I'll go next. Certainly, cost per acquisition and conversion rates go without say. Just for us, it's total customer count. How many customers do we have? Is that going up or is that going down? On a historical basis. So that's really important to us. We've also created, because of our sort of content-driven and thought leadership organization, we've created a community score. That score is comprised of a set of different KPIs across Facebook and Twitter and our blog and several different endpoints that we have, and we sort of look at that score as a green or red. So I encourage you. That's a very difficult thing to kind of come to, and you're certainly going to have to make some concessions about what has more weight over other things and what that means to your business. And sometimes that can be a data-driven decision, and sometimes it's more of a gut-driven decision. But having something that's historical over time, I think, is really valuable for your community.
Cool.
So at All Star, we've actually been changing away from a model that was very conversion-focused to one where we look essentially at 2 very important metrics in our business. One is around how many return engagements do we get with consumers, right? We get a lot of transactional folks hitting our website who come and leave and never come back. But for us, we know that most of our valuable customers come from the folks who come back and re-engage with us again and again and again. It may take them time to make a decision. The other one that we watch is on the content side. We take every piece of content that we develop and put on our site or on our mobile property, and we look at how much money we spend on that piece of content and how much engagement it actually drives. And tied to that then is, what is our rate of content development, right? Are we creating new stories for our customers at a rate at which matches their ability to understand and take those stories in? So we've really focused away from moving from the bottom of the funnel, what are our margins, what's our cost per acquisition, and start focusing at the top of the funnel, mostly because we realize that in our industry, After 12 years of being in this space, everyone that we compete against is really good at the conversion side. It's really about engaging with the consumers at the top, and we have to measure that. So,
cool. Anything to add?
So I guess I'll kind of reiterate what everybody else just said, sort of at a high level. So I think for us, particularly with our partnerships with these digital partners, we look at awareness. So that kind of encompasses the content piece. So when we post on our programs on Facebook, Twitter, wherever, what's the engagement level? The second piece would be adoption, so that kind of also encompasses, just from a marketing standpoint, our click-through rates, our open rates, our conversion rates. We track in terms of syncs, so how many times a card member syncs their card with one of these different platforms, so that's sheer customers that are engaged. And then the third would be retention, so that's the re-engagement piece, so loyalty, the fact that we don't want somebody to just sync their card once, we want them to sync their card across every partnership. We want them to come back and be loading offers and then going and spending at our merchant partners. And how do we re-engage them? By cross-selling through our various channels, whether it's email, mobile, tablet, online, advertising, what have you, but it's really that full life cycle that we're basically measuring everything.
Okay. All right, so there's some standard metrics across the board, and then you have several metrics that are obviously related to the business model at hand. And I loved Peter's example there of creating sort of a custom metric, the community index. Cool idea. I think that's a very cool thing to do. I don't know, folks, the next time you're going to have such a great opportunity to ask a question to such a wonderful collection of marketeers, but I highly encourage you to do it right now. So let's take a mic. You can pass this around. Raise your hand if you want a question from the audience right here in front, and then we'll take something from Twitter. There's a couple on Twitter. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Can you guys talk a little bit more about strategies you deploy for sustaining customer retention? So that's one. And related to that is one of the other channels is PR to get new users. And I've seen this in a lot of startups and a lot of companies. Once you have a PR spike in all top-tier publications, you get this big spike and then it drops off. So if you guys can talk about any strategies you have for sustaining, not as much, but yeah. So,
okay, super. So retention, sustain. It all comes down to two words. Who wants to kick off on retention?
I'll start by saying you should have a software as a service business model where you charge on a monthly basis and get people to stay because they can't leave. Get money flowing in the application and suddenly they will never leave you. That's sort of how we look at it, honestly. Our conversion doesn't happen when they sign up for a free trial or even when they pay for their first month. It's when they have campaigns running and there's money flowing, and that's when we know we've got them. So ultimately for us, it's more of a product-driven thing. Are they getting the tools they need in this product? Is there something better out there? That sort of thing. But certainly letting them know that you have their ear. I mean, you will listen to their voice and take their feedback and improve. That's a really important part of marketing.
For us, sustaining is a big deal because number one, we have a very heavy land and expand model. So when someone converts to be a customer, it's one person or a small department. We spend a lot of time and energy making sure they have a great experience with Tableau and they're able to share it and they're able to tell other people so that we can grow. So that's back through the cycle then. It's back through the cycle. So sustaining that relationship, we put a lot of energy and programs into, you're already a customer, what are we doing to delight you, either educate you, again, make you smarter, have fun with you, reward you, what are we doing to make the experience of being a Tableau customer great so that you'll turn around and tell your colleagues, your friends, whomever, and then that starts the cycle over for us. With respect to PR, it's definitely an investment of time and effort, and it's a little unpredictable. I guess I'm kind of understating how unpredictable it is, but I believe with great stories, great authenticity about what you do and how you help people, and interesting stories, you can get written about, but it is hard. It's a commitment. Don't think you're going to get one hit and change the universe with that. Sometimes it happens, but there are so few overnight successes that are actually overnight. They're usually years of buildup and a lot of sweat and tears. But I'm a big believer in PR. And in a lot of ways, social has really made that a more interesting channel and a more informed channel. So I really am a big believer in PR.
From the Twitter sphere, we have a question to Neha. If we can pass the mic down. Did American Express see a return on investment from Link Like Love?
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think, well, I can't share like specific numbers. Obviously, we treat Sync card members, so anyone who links their card with any of these platforms as an incredibly valuable consumer. And we are tracking sort of on the back end, what does a Sync card member mean? So does that mean increased spending? Does it mean loyalty at certain merchant partners that we're featuring these programs? How does that translate between different partner channels? So a Twitter card member versus a Facebook card member versus a Foursquare card member. You know, how do they differ? What kind of offers are creating loyalty with these programs? And how do we keep them re-engaged? So yes, there's definitely been, you know, directionally insights that show that these programs drive loyalty at the highest of levels, and it goes beyond just obviously pure ROI from a card spend perspective, but truly in terms of brand advocacy. So yes.
I know I was completely hooked when I went to the Jay-Z Sync show at South by Southwest. I still check it just because of that, honestly. I haven't done a lot of offers yet, but that was an explosive campaign.
Cool. Any other questions from the audience? Anybody? Don't be shy. Okay, there's one more question that we kind of out of time, but anybody, a single campaign that blew the doors open, holy cow, this was totally smart thing to do. Any?
I'm going to pick one that's actually from an old industry that I used to be in, which is travel, and it comes from a company that is not known for doing very good campaigns, and it's the recent campaign that Expedia's been doing. You know, you see this in television, but they've been doing it across many different channels right now. And for the first time, they've actually created a story. You cannot watch one of these commercials and not be drawn in about what's going on with the folks who are on that commercial. And you know, I don't know who the agency was who they worked with, but Expedia, is, having competed against them for several years, has generally had no idea what they were doing in terms of creating motivating stories, but this last one has been amazing.
I agree, it's been spectacular. Just real quick, for us, I think we had this particular campaign where it was about the title of the things we were doing consistently was about us and our point of view, and we'd get like 200 or 300 people to participate, and we kind of flipped it into like a more educational thing, and we started getting 1,000, 1,100 people to sign up. So that was a great thing. But overall, though, I think the killer campaign might be, you know, good for your career in a big company, but what we've found to be explosive, honestly, is just constant, rigorous testing and evaluating what works and what doesn't work. You know, you have to have a little bit of an environment for that, and I'm not saying everything has to be scientific. Sometimes you have hunches, but just having the rigor of thinking, what could I do to make this better the next time? What could I do to test my hypothesis that this thing is the right headline or the wrong headline or the button or whatever have you. That has changed a lot of our marketing or a lot of our goals, and it's really kind of fun. I think it motivates people to constantly be tinkering and doing things better. And so looking for the one big explosive campaign is a great thing, but I have to say it's the continuous measurable improvement, trying new things, and just keep pressing on to do great marketing, I think is the most explosive thing we have going on at Tableau.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Elissa, Peter, Marston, Neha.